Moving across town? You've got pretty much everything packed up except that couch. What are you going to do with it? It's in perfectly good condition, so it shouldn't just end up on the street. Donate it to St. Vinny's. Your pre-loved goods donated to St. Vinny's thrift stores stay right here in Dane County. Call St. Vinny's at 608-278-2920 extension 1 to schedule your free home pickup today. Want to save some time and money today? Order your next meal from Eat Street. Eat Street was founded right here in Madison and still operates locally. They're focused on local. Most of their orders, 85%, go to family-run restaurants. And now you can earn up to 5% Eat Street cash back only in Madison. Plus, get 15% off your next Madison order with the code CITYCAST. That's one word, not case sensitive, through May.
Today on CityCast Madison. Spring is here, and do you hear that? The birds are singing. It's time to get yourself outside and go see some squawkers. Host Bianca Martin sat down with the Wisco birder himself, aka Dexter Patterson, to talk about bird joy, community building, and even their favorite fat birds. It's Wednesday, April 23rd. I'm executive producer Haley Sperling, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hey y'all, it's Haley again. Since you're listening, I know you love Madison and want to feel more connected to it. That's why now is the best time to become a CityCast Madison neighbor. And if you join now during our spring campaign, you'll receive a free CityCast Madison coffee mug as a welcome gift. And y'all, it's not just any mug. It has thick walls and looks like one of those mugs from your favorite diner. That is, if your favorite diner was called CityCast Madison. They're real cute, trust me. So join the growing community of CityCast Madison neighbors at membership.citycast.fm. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Alrighty, let's fly into today's show.
Hey, Dexter Patterson, the Wisco birder, the legend. What's good?
What's up, Bianca?
It's so good to see you. And for those who haven't met you yet, your bio has like a great descriptor for an introduction. Bird nerd, wandering Wisconsin, spreading bird joy. I feel like we could all use a bit more joy in our lives these days. It's also spring, so perfect time for birding when the birdies are coming home. Dex, what is the joy in birding?
There's so much, I always tell people birding isn't about the birds. It's there's so many levels to it. You're getting the sunlight, you're breathing the fresh air, you're hearing running water, you may go hug a couple trees, you may touch some grass. And none of that has anything to do with birds. So I'm always out there and people are always shocked where the biggest bird nerd tells them that birding isn't about the birds, because it's not. I often tell people about the community portion of it. And, obviously I run a birding club, but some of the best people, Bianca, I've ever met in my life, I met in the wild. It's kind of cool. And some of the best people, the most kind people I've ever met, I've met on the trails. And once you get out there, birds are the on-ramp to a whole bunch of joy.
Man, I mean, that is so fair. And I have been known to hug a tree or two myself. I've got a tree specifically at Picnic Point that I visit. But, in terms of the kindest people, that tracks as well, because you're one of our favorite people to have on the show.
Oh, I love it.
You're just a bundle of joy. And if folks aren't following you on the Instagrams and on the socials, they definitely should be, because you spread joy like crazy on all of your birding adventures. It's been a year since we talked last.
It's kind of wild. I've been on here a couple times. It doesn't feel like it's been a year already.
You've been busy, to be fair.
Yes.
You've been busy.
Yes.
You've been staying outside, making memories. And I want to ask you, or at least recently, what's a top moment of bird joy for you? Like a memory, a moment, and it's totally fine if you have more than one.
So this last weekend, I was in Fayette, Iowa. I went down there and I actually led a bird joy seminar at Upper Iowa University for their wildlife conservation students. And not only did we go birding, we went to Echo Valley State Park, which is a beautiful state park in Iowa, for almost 3 hours. So we got this birding fix. But like, do you watch the show The Americas? Have you seen that yet?
I've been hearing so much about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I was watching that show and it had this little feature on what they call it was a wandering salamander. And this little salamander was like climbing up the redwood trees in California, gets all the way to the top and jumps off. So like I went down there and I had this newfound love for salamanders for some reason. So as we're birding, I get to talking. I'm like, do y'all got salamanders here? And what the instructor was like, yes. He's like, that's one of the things we study. So like, he's like, I'll get you a salamander. And I was like, that is so awesome. I was like, you wouldn't happen to have any baby goats laying around, would you? He's like, Dex, I got 80 goats at my farm. And we have baby goats that are 2 weeks old. He's like, so you'll get the baby goat too. So I got the whole, not only did I go out and look for salamanders, I held my first salamander, but I got to hold my first baby goat. And Bianca, her name is Bertha. Bertha. And she's
Bertha.
2 weeks old and she's like, she laid her little head on my chest and she closed her eyes. And I was like, I've not stopped thinking about this baby goat. So like what I said, that birding isn't about the birds. Sometimes it might be going out salamander hunting. It might be holding a little baby goat named Big Bertha because she's the biggest goat out of the little batch of the 2-week-olds. So you may have some of these other just ridiculous memories. Oh, and then when we're leaving the state park, so Iowa's a lot of farms, right? I mean, it's just like literally a Division II university in the middle of the smallest town ever. They don't even have an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school, but they got a Division II university. So there's all these farms everywhere. And this farmer had 2 emus running around. And I was like, liberty, liberty. And I was like, look
I've been saying that all this morning for some reason. That's hilarious.
Look at these dang emus just running around. I almost jumped off the bus. I was so excited.
The whole animal world was being presented to you.
Oh, it was so fantastic. That last weekend literally was one of the best weekends of my life. They were so kind. They were so welcoming. And they were ready for some bird joy. So, I mean, I was so fired up after that. Like, when I'm at the presentation, it was just like, oh, I gave them everything that I had. And we had a really good time. So, last weekend was just amazing.
Is one of the emphasis of that event about inclusivity and inclusive birding?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Obviously, and, you know, the students, the instructor, shout out to Paul. You know, he was like, we don't get, you know, guest lecturers here that are people of color. You know, we don't get Black men coming to our campus to talk about birds and talk about conservation and diversity, equity, inclusion in the outdoor space. So that was a big focus on what I talked about in the seminar, was not only finding the joy. And they got to see that in person. I got to lead their students through their state park, and they got to see bird joy in action. They got to see me wandering Iowa, spreading some bird joy, you know. So that was a good part of it. And just seeing people of all walks of life come together for that. So it was a free event. Not only was it for the students, but people from the public could come in. The local Audubon chapter there were members from there. And it was just a really beautiful opportunity to show people why inclusivity in birding is so important. So I talked about accessibility. I talked about access. I talked about all the different things that we do with our club to make sure everyone can experience, you know, the things that we're doing out there. So it was fantastic. Honestly, it was, you know, like you said, I've been busy lately, but I've been busy doing that, going to places, doing keynotes and really educating people about bird joy and how we can make this birding community more welcoming for everybody.
It really strikes me hearing about the fact that you're being called across the country now. You're the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club in Wisconsin, which is an intentional space to include people of color in nature and being birders.
Yeah.
So just to hear that this is, developing in this way and seeing you grow like that, all hold up this Madisonian, you keep flying, Dex.
Yeah.
And I know I just get so much joy seeing you and the group getting out there and going birding. Can you talk about, for those who aren't familiar, can you kind of give a little overview of what the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin is and like how it's been going since we last talked? Like, what have y'all been up to?
Man, we're going on our fourth year. We created our club to create these safe spaces for people of color to get in the outdoors. And that on-ramp is through birding. And we welcome people, individuals, families of all ages. We also invite our allies to our monthly events. But something that I launched this year is we've been hosting private BIPOC only walks, which really have been fantastic, and collaborating with some other local leaders like Christopher Kilgore and Jasmine Banks to bring people, Black and brown folks only and Indigenous folks only into some of these spaces. We don't publicly advertise them. We have a private chat. So we've been doing that too, to create more spaces for those opportunities. And we felt like what was going on in the world, we needed to be more intentional about creating those spaces. So now we have not only our monthly events in Madison and Milwaukee that everybody is welcome, but we also have been hosting monthly walks for just BIPOC folk. And so we're creating more opportunities, spreading more joy, getting more people of color outside and showing them that nature is for them. And unfortunately, that access component has really kind of hurt our people more than people realize. And, a lot of Black folks don't grow up knowing that green spaces are for them, the forest is for them. So that's what we've really been trying to show people, like, hey, you know what? We're going to create this space. We're going to lead you. You're going to be safe. We're going to do this together. You're going to learn. It's so cool. I talk about hugging trees. We got Black folks hugging trees, and we got the littles looking in scopes at ducks and different things, and just kind of opening these windows to the community. And it's been a lot of fun. So that's what we're doing now, is just continuing to create these spaces, continuing to get people outside and spreading that bird joy in the community.
I love to hear this addition, because it is so important. And you're talking about like people growing up and not knowing that the forest's for them. It's like, where are the Black hobbits, man? Like, where are the Black elves? And just to be in that space is really a sense of grounding when the world can feel very dangerous, particularly if you are a person of color and you're identified as someone who might be dangerous. And we've talked about this before, like that maybe going out at night or going out in early hours for birding as a Black person could startle someone, because people have biases thinking that we're more likely to be cause harm to them, even though it's not true. Right? Yeah. So is there any other notes that you could add on to talking about like why this inclusivity and birding is important, especially today?
So I always tell people, when you start to pay attention, you start to care. When you start to care, you may do something. So when we're thinking about birds and we're thinking about their habitats, when we're thinking about conservation, we have to realize that 10, 20 years from now, we will not be the minority. So who is going to be in charge of protecting these species? Who's going to be in charge of making sure that these habitats are intact? And then when you look at what's kind of going on now, these habitats and the Endangered Species Act and all these things are under attack. Right. So I think it is imperative to get more people to care so we can get more people to do something to protect these endangered species, to protect these habitats that we're losing. Habitat loss is changing bird behavior. And the more we keep losing it, the more birds we lose. Over the last 50 years, we've lost billions of birds.
B as in billions as in B.
Over 3 billion birds we've lost. And that is really concerning. So I remember when I started really getting into birding, only 6% of Black people identified as a birder. 8% of Latino Hispanic people identified as birders. That is a problem. And so the more that we can create spaces for people to get outside, to have these experiences, hopefully they start to realize like these little things are important, because when we start to, they're a great barometer of what's happening in our ecosystems. So when we start losing birds, that means there's other things happening beyond the bird. Right? The bird species, their numbers are coming down. What else is being impacted? So it's just, we just got to get more people out there so more people start to care and more people start to do something.
Literally the canary in the coal mine situation. Yeah. And it's so important we're having this conversation around Earth Day for a reason. We're thinking about conservation efforts. And it's strange to think, and maybe not strange, but, thinking about birding as political, but everything is political in a way. And I was just kind of pondering the fact that when I go out birding and getting out into nature, like I just marvel and celebrate the diversity of nature while birding. I don't know if this tracks with you, but just like seeing the wide variety of colors and patterns and behaviors and listening to different songs, like it almost feels humanizing in a sense, in a really fundamentally important way. Does that track with you?
Birding isn't about the birds. It does, right? It really kind of helps you live in the moment. And I think when you have all this chaos and all this crazy stuff going on in the world, the more that we can be like in our conscious mind, the more that we can be present in what's happening now in front of us, paying attention to the colors, paying attention to the trees and the sounds that you're hearing. How do you feel? And really kind of being present in that moment, it kind of brings down those cortisol levels, right? It kind of takes away a little bit of that anxiety and that worry from all the crazy, turn off the news, and go outside and pay attention and be with nature. It will change you. I promise you, and I always tell people that, like, if you're feeling like the world is just too much, right? And there are lots of moments like that for folks right now. Turn off the TV, go outside, right? Go out to your favorite park that's near you. It doesn't have to be some fancy place that's an hour away or anything. But when you show up, ask yourself how you feel. Are you stressed out? Are you anxious? Are you mad? All right. And really acknowledge that. Right. So now you really set the tone of being mindful of how you feel in that moment. And then halfway through, ask yourself how you feel. Guarantee you feel a little bit better. Right. When you start getting close to the parking lot, ask yourself again, how do you feel? Guarantee you feel endlessly, like way more better. Right. So it is really kind of, you can control that. Right. We kind of are our thoughts sometimes. And the more you can be aware of what's going on, nature is the best place to do that. The best place to get grounded, the best place to decompress, the best place to just woosah sometimes and just be like, woosah. Yes. Shout out to Tama Watts. She's really kind of into mindful birding. Just an amazing Black woman that lives out in SoCal. And she was the one that taught me about that, about really kind of taking note of how do you feel when you get there? How do you feel halfway through? How do you feel when you get back to your car? And I can't tell you, it's just really kind of changed my life of really just being like, passing that knowledge on to people. And it's proof that birding is for everyone, because they're going to be like, holy cow, Dexter was right. I feel better. Right. And if you understand that it's good for you, guess what? You're going to go back out. So, yeah, shout out to Tama Watts.
Yes, your mom wants you to call her. This Mother's Day, give her a call and give her an Aura digital picture frame. My sister lives 2,000 miles away, and I often miss her when I'm out doing something fun that she'd love. I have this photo of us roller skating on the boardwalk by Santa Monica Pier, and every time I see it, I feel the joy of that moment trying to skate and look cool. Aura Frames was named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter and featured in 495 gift guides last year. So the next time you need to call your mom, you can also send her a new pic of you from that trip you're telling her about right from your phone. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Getting in better shape, eating healthier, saving more money, traveling somewhere new? What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. The Spanish I learned on Babbel really helped me on a recent trip to Mexico City, ordering in restaurants, shopping at the textile market, cheering on at the Lucha Libre, and I've been keeping it up since I got home. You're a podcast listener. I know that because you're listening here. I bet you'll love Babbel's new podcasts. On Eavesdrop in Espanol, which I listen to, you get to listen to a real conversation, then have the teacher host explain back to you. Then you listen again and catch everything. And you can even read along in the transcript. It's a really fun and effective way to learn. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey, it's your host, Bianca, popping in to tell you about our new CityCast Madison Neighbors program. I know you've heard us talk about membership before, and many of you are already part of it. Well, it's got a new name. We're calling it CityCast Madison Neighbors because we've learned that people who support CityCast Madison are people who care deeply about the city and want to make it better. They're just the kind of neighbors this city needs. We're also adding benefits. CityCast Madison neighbors still have access to ad-free podcast listening and an exclusive weekly local events preview. But now you also get regular events like happy hours with other CityCast Madison neighbors, local volunteering meetups, and other members-only events where we explore and better our city together. And you get to shout out a local business or nonprofit you love on the show and in the Madison Minutes newsletter. For $10 a month, you can become a CityCast Madison neighbor today by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. We couldn't make the show without people like you supporting it, and we're so excited for you to be a part of it. Thanks a million. Man, we started this conversation talking about joy. I love that we talked about getting into presents and how important that is right now. One huge moment of bird joy that hit my feeds recently is the announcement of your forthcoming book, Birds of the Great Lakes, how they look and sound, where to find them, how to protect them. Yes. It's a part of the Best Little Book of Birds collection. So exciting. Officially on pre-sale. Yeah. How does that feel? Congratulations.
It still doesn't feel real. But I've been working on it since 2023. So I've been grinding at it, and to see it out there, we were trending on Amazon, #1 new release in birds and ornithology and tour guides and all. It was just like the love, the bird joy is real. And just kind of seeing the outpour of love and support for that. It was super inspiring. I'm so excited that, we'll start shipping that book off in the fall. But I'm going to be traveling a lot this spring. I'm giving keynotes at some of the biggest birding festivals in the world this spring. So,
go Dexter.
Yeah, hey. I'll be out promoting Bird Joy. So hopefully if you're attending the biggest week in birding, hopefully I see you there. If you're attending the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival, hopefully I see you there. I'm going to Chicago. I'm flying out to Philly for Black Birders Week. There are so many amazing things happening over this spring.
Yeah, and we're excited to, call you our own here in Madison. The fact that this book is coming out later this year and you're already making records is really exciting, already making top lists. For the book, you cover over 100 common bird species from our region. Mm-hmm. And thinking about you going out and about, people have national interest in the Great Lakes region, right? Is there a type of bird that characterizes the Great Lakes? Is there that's a Great Laker right there? Are there any commonalities with the birds who choose to make their home here?
That was kind of the hard part because I don't think people realize how vast the Great Lakes actually are. in the amount of diversity of birds that pass through the region. Just last year, Wisconsin had the 6th most birds migrate through in the entire country. And we're just one little portion of the Great Lakes, you know? So the hard part was picking like what birds, you know, that I was going to put in there, because it's not a comprehensive list of every single bird you can see. It's more of a opening up this curiosity, and you're probably going to see more. But I would say everybody can relate to, you know, American robins and cardinals, and, you know, you got a lot of different birds like that. And then the songbirds that come through, the different warblers that come through. But then you have certain warblers that come to Michigan that don't come to, you know, Wisconsin or Ohio, that don't come here. So really trying to have a wide variety of birds that represented the entire region was really important. But it was so hard to pick which ones to put in. It also features my photography, which I'm really excited about. So, you know, over the years, I've been lucky to take some amazing photos of these beautiful birds. So, yeah, I don't know if there's one bird that represents the Great Lake region specifically, but like sandhill crane is a really, really good one.
Is there a sandhill crane on your hat? Right
no,
now?
this is actually an acorn woodpecker.
Okay, now I'm seeing it. Now I'm embarrassed.
It's got this little
that doesn't look
acorn
anything.
in
It doesn't have legs. Sorry, that's my eyes.
This is one of those birds that I have yet to see. They're more on the West Coast. I really, really love them. They store all these little acorns in like a million holes on a tree. Like they're really cool birds, and they hang out in colonies and with their families. And I don't know. One of these days, somebody's gonna bring me to California to do a bird joy seminar, and I'm gonna get this bird.
Yes, it is such a joy. And I do want to highlight that the BIPOC Birding Club actually has an event this Saturday at the Aldo Leopold Center right over here in Winona for new birders. Learn to Bird Spring Birding. I don't know if you'll have any part in that, but it's going to be kinds of tips and tricks. Do you know anything about that event? Like what they'll be getting into?
I mean, I am the BIPOC Birding. No.
Okay. You're the guy. I know you're busy.
I will be there. I will be teaching, you know, really want new birders to know how to use binoculars and how to identify birds by different sizes, and, you know, giving them some techniques to help them see more birds and things like that. So I'm really excited to go back to the Aldo Leopold Nature Center in Winona. We love new birders at our club. So, you know, like I say, we always say everybody is welcome from all different skill levels. But this one, I really want families and people who are been curious to come out and explore this beautiful place with us. It's not huge. It's got really good trails, and yeah, it should be a good time. So really excited.
Let's say you're a wagering man. What kind of birds might people expect to see this weekend?
Yeah, I would say good chance that we'll see maybe some green herons, some great blue herons, maybe some egrets hanging out on their small ponds. Hopefully a couple of different types of warblers may be around. So the yellow-rumped warbler, aka the butterbutt, has roamed through over the last, the butterbutt, palm warblers. So we should see a couple of different type of warblers. The flycatchers have shown up. So eastern phoebes will be really kind of out there in abundance, and a wide variety of sparrows. They typically have some birds of prey that are kind of around. So Cooper's hawk, red-tailed hawks. It is a really cool place. So it should be a good variety of birds out there.
Yeah. And like we said, it's spring, so it's go time. And the Great Wisconsin Birdathon is right around the corner, coming up on May 5th. And y'all will be taking part in that. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so we've been doing that since we started our club. Shout out to the Natural Resources Foundation. They've been very, very important to our growth, and you know we've gotten some grants through them that allow us to launch our birding backpack program, that allowed us to start our Bus to Nature program, that allowed us to build a website when we started launching. So the Birdathon is how we've been able to get those funds. So it has been clutch for us. So shout out to the Natural Resources Foundation. We do have a team, the BIPOC Flock. So if you want to join our team, you can head to their website and check us out. We'd love to have you on our team.
Heck yeah. There's so much going on. Before we let you go, Dex, voting for Wisconsin's Fat Bird Week opens at the end of next week, Friday, May 2nd. So that's always fun to celebrate our chunky native birds. It's an opportunity also to learn like how to help them.
Mhm.
So, you know, plump looking fluffy birds. Those are the kind of birds you get to vote for in the Wisconsin Fat Bird Week. And I had you open up a link here for the birds that are up in the running for 2025. Can you pick one of your favorites and tell us why you made that pick? I'll pick one myself here.
I mean, these are all fantastic. I always tell people picking favorite birds is like picking a favorite kid, and I have 4. So let's see here. I gotta go with the Eastern Bluebird. Personally, that little chunk of dunk looks amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, the coloring is just gorgeous. Like almost that's a cerulean for anyone who watches The Devil Wears Prada. That's a cerulean blue. Yeah, I love that one. I think I'm going to go with the spherical white-throated sparrow. It's super rotund.
Yeah, that one been eating good.
Yes, it's eating good. And its beak kind of, from this photo, looks iridescent. And,
yeah, the light does some wonders sometimes. So, yeah, that's not how their beak typically looks. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep my vote.
A lot of times when you see these birds fluffed up like that either they're alarmed or they just got done preening and they like shake themselves, or it's cold and they puff up, right? So the birds are the original puffy coat. So usually when you see them like that, that's not really how they look. There are some that are a little more plump, but it's usually one of those 3. They just got done preening their feathers and they fluff out.
Wow.
They're on alert. They see something and they're on alert, or they're just cold.
Yeah, I picked this one. I'm not going to lie. I picked the spherical white-throated sparrow in this picture because it looks like a blimp. But this is exactly why folks should, like, if they want to, go out and be a part of BIPOC Birding Club and be a part of the birding community so they can actually learn. Like, actually, that's a specific behavior from the birds. Dex, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us on CityCast Madison and giving us an update on your adventures and what's coming up.
Yeah, it's always good to be here. Shout out to CityCast Madison.
Dexter Patterson is the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. His new book, Birds of the Great Lakes, How They Sound, Where to Find Them, How to Protect Them, is available for pre-order now. You can check out our show notes for a link to that and for more information on this weekend's Learn to Bird event at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm executive producer Haley Sperling. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with someone you take birding? Or maybe someone who loves baby goats? Before we go, I have to give a special shout out to our newest CityCast Madison neighbors. Thank you, Courtney B., Michael J., and Tom B. We are so thankful that you're here. If you'd like to join the folks building a better Madison and get that free Neighbors Only coffee mug, go to membership.citycast.fm. All right, y'all, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. See ya.